Thank you, guys. I really appreciate your jumping in here for the deep dives, and I think this gave a really good overview over the features we can expect now to see future in our cars. And I would like to start with a small introduction to the car architecture. I think if we are looking directly to our cars, the sketch how it could be done in the EE architecture is similar to this one. We have vehicle controllers that are implementing a subset of functionalities for several domains. And the integration tasks for the central units is a huge task for an OEM. There are also some variations, which of them are done with adaptive, which with classic. At the end, on the boardnet level, they all talk AUTOSAR. The question is how much in the platform you like to reuse your the standardized concepts. And besides that, there are also third-party platforms that are integrated on the same processor architectures. Also looking on sensor ECUs we have in our cars, classic platform is established there, and I think up to ASIL-D you can be safe that your sensor infrastructure is running properly. With this hardware architecture, the one thing in mind is how to bring this complex thing inside our cars in a appropriate time. Therefore, you need tooling, you need templates, and you need a data model that helps us in the integration. The data model we are providing with AUTOSAR has a strong methodology. That's why the safety certification is a help to be bound or to be built on this methodology. And it's split to four several areas. The first area is VFB. You usually start with a virtual function bus describing technology agnostic, specific information that are going through your network. Then you talk usually about with software component providers, or you develop by yourself your application software that has to be deployed. With that, you know your basic software requirements, which are developed in parallel, right? Together to an EE system, you combine it to a system extract and later to a system description. And it can include also an abstract system description to this. At the end, the truth comes together to an ECU deployment, and the XML schema gives us a base for certification, but also for validation of several compiler infrastructures. This is why it's so important to have one common approach and not explaining the suppliers with every project the same methodology. Looking for the future, next slide please. There we go, that's too fast. Looking to the future a little bit, we hear to outside, we hear your voices when you talk about standardization is too slow, standardization is something that is outdated. But at the end, standardization is the base for communication. And you can always create one solution that gives you a capability to work more efficient in the local optimization. But at the end, if you try to scale it to several numbers of cars, of several numbers of platforms, you need to think of your ecosystem you have to create. And the value chain is changing at the moment. So we see in the yellow part, the emerging parts coming from several directions, like hardware, system providers, but also big players giving the whole bunch of functionalities. Also startups really focusing on automated driving features. And the gray area, it is gray not because of the hair, it's gray because of the experience, how to include that in our EE systems. The biggest clash is in the parts where the arrows are broad, which means the operating system in a middleware is something that everybody would like to have in their hands. Why is this the case? The data ownership for the future is split more than in the past, and it will be discussed on this layer. Also, OEMs try to go deeper, I would say, on the integration side. And on the other side, you have suppliers that are a little bit insecure how the future could look like. I don't like to make it very pessimistic for the future, but for us, it's really to sharpen how our future of standardization could look in this ecosystem in general. And we see that the most OEM projects with the revenue starting in 2019 are coming with AUTOSAR partners. So 80% under the selling OEMs are initiating based on the standard their EE architectures. And that's why I'm asking also a little bit with a glimpse to how should we continue in challenges like this. We of course need the players inside of this ecosystem, because one day you will have to discuss the technical implications to the platforms, to the architectures which are outside in our cars, but also maybe developed for the future. And here we see automated driving taking the next step for level 3. The discussion is, I think, in every company similar. I don't want to say the same, but if we see already level 2B or 2+ automated driving system on the road, there is a split between available technologies and what do we need for level 3. I will have a slide after this on that, because also standardization, I think, must change in this direction. To support the value chain we've seen before in the slide, there are 3 different perspectives. I think the EE architectures integration. We have also different scenarios on the platform level integration, but also from the shelf functionalities and also EE systems that can be applied and also acquired from the market. This is important to support from the standard. And for the electrification point of view, I think there's also in the energy management and the power management inside the car, the drive lines of the future are bringing in the focus to electric drive lines. So my question is, where are the platforms that are running these systems? They are in AUTOSAR, but we don't have application software at the moment standardized for those. And the question is simply, why not? So I think there's a big step to bring that into a broad field and understanding what standards looks like on the software platform level. And the last thing I would like to keep as a question, and would like to imagine just the days we had, of course, in the community, and the days hopefully that will come to meet again. But on the other side, we see also that efficient and focused elaboration of standards is possible. And we're taking the virtual challenge here as well in communicating things, I think, wider and also more open than in the past. And I think also this gives us a possibility to change in the right direction. Next slide, please. It's easier than clicking. This is the one I promised for automated driving. There are 3 perspectives on this. I would need to explain that. That's a life cycle for automated driving development life cycle. And we have 2 different OEM projects at left or right. And you see here 2 different standardization organizations that are already connected to each other, because recording, measurement, and also recomputing is with ASAM and a clear focus with the new standards they provide. On the other side, AUTOSAR has a strong focus on onboard architectures. So this combination gives us for automated driving level 3 a good idea to tackle the next step. And the arrow in between is the one thing I think that for the future will be an important step to standardize as well. There are several communities for the data standardization, the cloud standardization, the interaction with the cars based on data. But here the field is not clean yet. So we need to find the way which standards we can use to make the data available partly for everyone and partly for the OEMs. So it's use case specific, in which use case you need specific amount of data. And on the next slide, I will just give you a little bit of what can you really expect. There are some technical parts, there are some parts from the organizational perspective, and I'm really looking forward to 2021. For me, it's a kind of second step after going back, really thinking in the Christmas times about the future, about how it changed us to collaborate inside our companies, but also in the consortium, and looking forward to the events we will have, right? So there will be an event for as an open conference, which will be virtual somewhere around March. We will think about a virtual all-WG meeting to the middle of the year. We will have, of course, hopefully more concepts coming in, but it's also very important to increase the validation of the adaptive platform. The validation of the adaptive platform can be done by several approaches. The easiest way is that suppliers come to us and say, we implemented this concept, we implemented this specification, we implemented these two specification items, and it worked for us. So there's a checklist, you can check mark them and say, we validated that. That's a great feedback for the consortium, because this will improve the quality of the adaptive platform to be implemented by several others. The second part is, of course, which we can drive, is the validation platform with the APD, with the demonstrator. This we can do for local implementations. And we also do reviews that are just simply saying, okay, from the conceptual point of view, this concept looks good. With saying that, it's for me quite important to highlight that the release 2111 will again have a mix of quality and of new features, because I think this is the important thing to do the threshold in between. We can't just concentrate on concepts and forget about how we deliver the quality, to don't forget the core part of the platform. And we don't concentrate on quality only, because we will forget the future. So the threshold is somewhere in the middle. And with that, I hope we can also organize such an release event for you again next year. Of course, we're looking also to the feedback you have in the Slido and to the questions to the future, but also to the things we've presented. And the document search on AUTOSAR.org, you can simply open that, scroll it to your specification you would like to look for, and soon you're AUTOSAR partner, you get also an access to the demonstrator, for example. And if we just have with one click a little bit of a view to the times we met each other in the community, there was a small wave we had in in a stadium somewhere in southern Bavaria, organized 2019. So maybe you remember these days, and we share, I think, the anticipation to have such events again with the experts, but also to looking forward what standardization looks like for the future. Because if you also develop something for yourself, it's only one solution. And if you try to make it broad and together develop it with others, it becomes a technology. So, and that's the important thing. Thank you so much.